Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Right, before I go any further, as per usual, I just want to say a quick thank you to everybody for the lovely comments that you left me last week concerning the little tribute I did to our good friend Dave Oliver. I felt it was right just to say a few words. I wasn't sure whether I should. I deliberated over it for most of the week, thinking, should I say a few words or not? But if you don't, I just think it makes it look as if you've forgotten him already, sort of thing. So I thought it the right thing to do to say a few words. I didn't want to make it too overblown, which I think that part lasted about 5 minutes, something like that. But I said pretty much everything that I wanted to say, and that I think you guys would have said as well. So I appreciate the comments that you left, including, let's see, Rick. Great tribute to a great guy, Tony, mate. Cheers, Rick. Much appreciated. He was a great guy, and I miss him terribly. I really do. I've had people asking me about him that didn't actually know him. I actually went to Argos today to pick something up, and I met an old schoolmate there working in there, and she asked me who the guy was that I was talking about, and who the tribute was to, and this, that, and the other. So I stood talking to her for 5 minutes, explaining basically what a lovely bloke he was, which she knew because she'd seen the video that Dave did for me during my early days on YouTube, which I think you pretty much would have all seen it the first time round. But I posted it again last week, which is the one that he did. He did a series of videos. I can't remember what he called them now. Was it channels you should be subscribed to? And he used to do them occasionally to basically promote other people's channels the way his had been promoted, and he did one for me. And just listening to it again, somebody at work said to me when they'd watched it, all those lovely things that man said about your videos and your channel. I says he was lovely, he was so sweet, and I says that's what he was like all the time. So yeah, I do miss him, and I miss talking about his videos. As you know, a lot of my videos were spent, I'd spend at least 5-10 minutes talking about his videos and his reviews and his opinions and comparing notes and all that sort of thing, and obviously I can't do that now. So thanks for that, Rick, much appreciated. Mike, the real Fifth Beatle, lovely tribute, Tony. Thanks, Mike, really appreciate that. I think when you do these things, I would imagine it's a very, very easy thing to get wrong. It's not the easiest thing to get these things right. And I did think about it, as I say, for days before I actually did it, thinking, if I am going to do it, what am I going to say? And I did it in the end without any kind of a script. I mean, I've got notes in front of me now. But that was definitely not scripted. I just wanted that to come straight from the heart. And if I forget bits, Dave knew more than anybody what I was like when I made mistakes, because he did the same things. And as you'd have seen on that video that he did for me, when he makes a mistake, he owns it and leaves it in. So maybe I should take a leaf out of his book on that one. Yeah, it's not the easiest of things to get right, and I was a little concerned about what I was going to say, how it was going to sound. But judging by the comments you've left me, I think I've got it pretty much right. So appreciate that, Mike. Scott, excellent video, Tony. Loved it, mate. Lovely tribute today. We all miss him. He was fantastic. He was indeed. He was one of a kind, absolutely. And the whole YouTube community, especially the horror community, miss him like crazy. It's still difficult to believe that he's gone. I was only chatting with him online probably a couple of weeks before it happened, and just coming to terms with the fact that we're not going to be able to do that again. It takes some doing, it really does. So thanks for that, Scott. The Crow is a fantastic film, really enjoyed it. Really not too sure about the remake though. I don't know, like I said last time, I only saw the original version probably a couple of weeks back for the first time, so I'm not sure I'm ready for a remake of that one just yet, because the original is still completely fresh in my mind, and I did enjoy it an awful lot. So I don't know. Maybe it's one I'll take a look at. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait to see whether Callie and Guy watch that one and what they think of it. Although I've got a pretty fair idea what's going to be said about that one. Let's see. I'm intrigued to check out the remake of Roadhouse, though. Heard good things about that one. Awesome stuff, Tony. Cheers, Scott. The Roadhouse remake with Jake Gyllenhaal. I went into it basically not even thinking about the original, the Patrick Swayze movie. I think if you go into it comparing it to that, you're going to come out of it thinking, no, didn't like it. I haven't seen the original for quite a while. So the only reason I watched the remake was because everybody else was watching it. And I thought, do you know what, at least give it a go. Give it a try and see how you come out of it. And as I said before, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Really, really did enjoy it. Way more than I thought I would. Would I watch it again? Yeah, probably. Yeah, almost certainly. They are two very, very different movies. The setting is different. The villains are different. Jake Gyllenhaal is completely different to Patrick Swayze. The character is similar in some ways, but most of the time it's completely different. I just really, really enjoyed it for what it was. So yeah, I definitely recommend it, Scott, if you've not seen it yet. But as I say, go into it completely blind and don't think about the original, and you won't go too far wrong with that one. So, sorry, a bit of a croaky throat this morning. Steve Mack, my favourite year is 1976. This is the, I was asking everybody what their favourite year in movies was, and to illustrate it with a few titles. And you put a few here: Taxi Driver, Carrie, Taxi Driver, total classic. Carrie, brilliant adaptation of a Stephen King novel. One of Brian De Palma's early films, really, really good. Marathon Man, oh my God, is it safe? Can anybody think of Marathon Man without thinking of the dentist scene? Laurence Olivier as, what was his name? Zell. They called him the White Angel, Weißer Angel, in the concentration camps. And he was let loose with a drill on Dustin Hoffman. If you've not seen it, if you don't like dentists, it absolutely is not a film to watch. But the movie itself is brilliant. And I am now used to the dentist scene because I've seen it so many times. But the first time you watch it, it literally takes your breath away as just how great in it is. But it's a nasty scene. Classic movie though. The Omen, brilliant. Very much up for this new one, the first Omen. It is getting really, really good reviews across the board. Pretty much everybody that I've listened to, podcast wise and this, that and the other, have said that it's a lot better than they thought it was going to be. And there are some genuine scares in there, so I'm really, really up for that. But nothing will match the power of the original. And Damien Omen 2 was just superb. The Final Conflict was good as well. They were just the perfect trilogy. Pretty much like the original Superman. I don't know whether you'd actually call it a trilogy, because there was a number 4, wasn't there? Quest for Peace, that nobody really talks about. So, but Superman 1, 2 and 3, absolutely brilliant. Star Wars, that's another one. Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. Don't need any of the others, just those. So, Network. This is a forgotten one. I hadn't forgotten it. I love this movie. I haven't seen it for quite a while. This is... what's his name? He played the guy in Omen 2. William Holden and Faye Dunaway and Peter Finch. It is basically the story of a television network, especially the news department. It is just if you've not seen it, I would highly recommend it. As it's made in 1976. I can't remember who directed it now. Classic line in it: "I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore." The news guy basically gets everybody screaming out of their windows in New York or wherever it's set. It's a brilliant movie. If you've not seen it, definitely recommend it. It's one that I've not got on DVD or Blu-ray, but I'm now very, very tempted to grab a copy of that because it's been so long since I've watched it, and I remember enjoying it immensely. first time I saw it. All the President's Men, brilliant. Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman as the two reporters that broke the Watergate scandal for the Washington Post. Absolutely brilliant. Superb acting all the way round. Just a cracking story. Logan's Run. Watched this recently. I still remember the series that followed it, and I loved it. The movie was just brilliant. Would I watch it again? You bet I would. Absolutely. Rocky, another one. I mean, I was not against watching the Rocky movies, but I had no real interest in them. But everybody sort of said, "Oh, you got to watch them, got to watch them." So I watched the first one, thoroughly enjoyed it. Thoroughly enjoyed the second one. Third one was okay. Fourth one was good. Fifth one was a lot better than everybody led me to believe it was going to be. Everybody has basically said that number 5 is probably the worst. Was there a 6? I can't remember. But if there was, I'm fairly sure I would have enjoyed it. So, yeah. And that was to name a few, as you said. And I've got here, just bear with me, herbal tea this week. Now then, these are some of the ones from 1976 that I remember and really enjoyed. First one, Dogs. Stars David McCallum. It's one of these animal attack movies. It's very similar to a movie that came out the following year called The Pack. And it is just about a sort of a pack of wild dogs. That's pretty much all you can say about it. It's an animal attack movie, a really good one. It's one that doesn't get talked about very much now. I don't know why. I think it's one of those forgotten movies, but I enjoyed it. Grizzly. Are you seeing a pattern forming here? I do love horror films from the 70s, and I do. Grizzly was one of the first, well, I will call it a Jaws rip-off, but it's not really a Jaws rip-off because it's a completely different thing. It just happens to be about a different animal attacking people. This was really, really well done. Starred Christopher George, who went on to star in a lot of movies, including Day of the Animals, which I loved, The Exterminator from 1980, which I adored. And it is the most dangerous Jaws on land. They've even used the tagline. So, yeah, who else is in this? Andrew Prine and Richard Jekyll. 18 feet of gut-crunching, man-eating terror. I won't go that far, but a cracking movie nonetheless. Burnt Offerings. This is a brilliant haunted house movie. It preceded the Amityville Horror by about 3 years. Starred Oliver Reed, Karen Black, and the legendary Betty Davis. Again, I've not seen this for quite a while. I do remember watching it when it first came out on VHS, I believe. Thoroughly enjoyed it. And when I saw the Amityville Horror, this was the first movie that I thought of when I watched the Amityville Horror. I thought it's very similar to Burnt Offerings. So if you've not seen this, highly recommended. The Man Who Fell to Earth. Now this was, I believe, David Bowie's acting debut. I'm sure this was 1976. Please tell me I've got the right year. Just bear with me. It doesn't say, but I'm fairly sure. Why have I got the feeling this is 1974? I don't know. I'm going to class it as 1976 because I've shown it now. But if you've not seen it, this is one of the weirdest movies you'll ever see. David Bowie is perfectly cast as the alien who's sent to Earth to basically take water for his drought-ridden planet. It's just really good. Again, I've not seen this for a while. I just remember watching it and coming away from it thinking, that was brilliant, but there were bits of it I didn't understand. It was directed by Nicholas Roeg, who is well known for doing sort of weird movies like Don't Look Now, Performance with Mick Jagger, around about in the early 70s, which is another one I need to catch up with. I do like his films, I just find them really, really strange. I do hope that's 1976 and I've shown it. Next one. Food of the Gods. I remember when this came out at Burton Odeon, I fell in love with the cinema poster outside. Absolutely loved it. I wasn't old enough to get in to watch the movie. It was Certificate X, so I'd only been about 14 at the time, but I did catch it years later on VHS and thought it was brilliant. It's got quite a reputation for having very, very bad special effects. I don't agree. I thought they were okay in this. I still watch it now and think it's still not bad. So where are they getting this? Where is it picking this reputation up of having really rubbish special effects? But I thought it was really good. It's based on an H.G. Wells novel, which I read many, many years ago, and it does actually stick fairly faithfully to the book. But if you've not seen this, it's just an enjoyable movie. And finally, this is probably the most famous of the lot of them, Assault on Precinct 13. I remember seeing Barry Norman reviewing this. This would have been about 1976, so it would have been filmed 76. And he was quite impressed with it. This is one of John Carpenter's early movies, an absolutely blistering soundtrack, superb movie. The guns with the silencers are just as cool as. I just thought this was amazing. This is one that I need to grab a copy of on Blu-ray at some point. I'm kind of holding out to see whether it's going to get a 4K release, because it will be due for that on its 50th anniversary. Let's see, in 2 years' time. So I may hold off on that one. But they're just some of the movies from 1976 that I remember. So thanks for that, Steve. Much appreciated. Let's see, Jason K. Another Saturday and another cracking vid from Tony. Thanks, Jay. Much appreciated. A lovely tribute to Dave. R.I.P. Dave, you will be missed. You most certainly will be. He already is. As I say, he's left a massive, massive hole in the YouTube community, and he has. Close Encounters is not my favourite, but I did enjoy it. Oh, here we go. It's the human drama about aliens and the unknown that makes it an enjoyable romp. A romp? A romp? Carry On Henry's a romp. Eskimo Nell's a romp. Close Encounters is a sci-fi classic. How dare you? Oh, God. The other half is rewatching Sons and Daughters on and off. I can't stand it. Sons and Daughters. Kind of grew up with it. My mum used to be crazy about it. She always had it on every afternoon round about 3:30, 4 o'clock, just before the children's programme. So it was on when I got home from school. So I was kind of not forced to watch it, but I didn't have much of a choice, let's say, because we only had, I think it was 3 channels back then, or was it 4? Would have been 4. So just watch it, Jay. You might like it. Highly unlikely. I had this argument this week. Oh my God. What was on when I came home from work the other day? I wasn't watching it. Rob was watching it. The Real Housewives of Cheshire. What an absolute steaming pile of horseshit that programme is. I don't even know where to start. All I could think of, it is just basically a load of spoiled, privileged, rich bitches screaming at each other about absolutely nothing. And we get the same thing with the Kardashians. They're the same, and that bloody lot from Essex. You know what I'd do? First off, I'd cut their arms off so they can't do all this waving of arms and fingers and stuff like that. I'd cut their arms off. Then I'd put them on a boat, sail them into the deepest part of the ocean and dump the whole fucking lot of them over the side. And that's it. Job done. I can't stand it. And I didn't realise how much it infuriated me until I basically had to watch the last 15 minutes of it. And I got the comment, you should watch it from the beginning. You might enjoy it. I don't think I will ever enjoy the Real Housewives of wherever. There's nothing real about them. They're completely false. Plastic, everything. I bloody hated it. Hated every single second of it. And that was just 15 minutes. And it just got me thinking, what would I do with these people? What use are these people to anybody? They're a fucking pain in the arse. We thought we got rid of the Kardashians a while ago. I remember it got possibly what would have been the last series or the last episode of the last series of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and I think the mother was saying, "Do you think people can live without us and this, that, and the other?" And I was literally screaming at the telly, "Yes, we fucking can do without you." So, yeah, that's my rant for this week, is reality TV, and in particular, and yet the weird thing is, I used to love dramas like Dallas and Dynasty, the glitzy ones. I used to love them, but these people that actually live the life, the real life Alexis Carringtons and Ewings and this, that, and the other, I just think they're so sad and pathetic. That's it. I'm not going to say no more. I've lost the thread where I was. Sorry, Jason. I've hijacked your comments here. Here we go. Christine does not need a remake. For fuck's sake. I just rewatched the original not long ago and it's still a fantastic movie. The special effects still look great. I saw probably the first 40 minutes of it a few weeks back, and it does. The special effects hold up. They looked amazing way back in 1983. For saying those effects are like, what, over 40 years old now, they looked amazing. So I don't see how they can make it look any better. And again, it's one of those movies, and yes, I know I keep saying that we shouldn't remake them because there's nothing wrong with the originals, but every now and then you come across one that you think, absolutely, definitely not. You don't want to be doing anything with this one. I think Christine is one of them. Knight Rider FFS. They already tried to remake that for TV and it failed. The TV show was good for its time, but do we really need to see it again? No. Well, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I get the feeling if they've already done it for television and it failed miserably, what would be the point of doing it again as a movie? I mean, in the hands of somebody like James Wan, he could probably do a half decent job of it. But whether it would be, matched up to the original is another matter. I mean, I've not seen it, so I don't know. But I'm guessing not, because I've said before, these TV adaptations of movies hardly ever work. As for Scream 7, after the last two Scream movies, I think it's time to give that franchise a rest. I quite agree. I'd have given it a rest after the second one, probably after the first one, actually. I don't think I've ever watched a movie where I've wanted the killer to absolutely destroy the entire cast, ever. Scream 5 and 6 were trash, I hate to say. The characters were downright annoying and it just carried on for too long. I think we're all getting bored of them now, aren't we? It's like the Halloween films. Halloween ends, but it hasn't, has it? Because we've got a TV series on the way now, so it's going to be resurrected yet again. Can they not come up with anything original? Why do we have to keep bringing back these, not dead franchises, but these franchises that have been done to death already? So yeah, I think after all the trouble that Scream 7 ran into, I think I'd have chucked the towel in and said, you know what, let's just leave it for a few years and maybe bring it back again, give it 5 or 10 years or something. But I do agree with you on that one. I'd have quit it after the first one, maybe after the second one, but certainly no more than that. So thanks for that, Jason, much appreciated. Jason P, great vid as per, mate. Cheers, Jace. Although the year is 2024 and not 2021, I didn't realise, it took me ages to realise what you were on about. I looked at last week's video, and underneath on the caption it was something, was it April the 6th, 2021? I think it was. So I don't know what I was thinking with that. Nice tribute to Dave Oliver. Cheers, Dave. Jace, much appreciate that. When you watch the Middle-earth saga, start with The Hobbit, as they are prequel movies. That's how I watch them now. There was something else, but I forgot to note. Fair enough. I will be starting on the Middle-earth trilogy. As I said last week on the group, I'm going to tie up all the loose ends of franchises that I've started and programs that I've started and not finished, and then I'm going to move on to the next one. It will either be the Mission Impossible series or the Middle-earth ones. The Middle-earth movies, I think I'm going to have to hold off on until I'm off work because I've basically got a whole day to watch one movie or two movies or whatever. Um, Stringing together 4 hours to watch one single movie, and it's the extended versions that I've got, is gonna be a tall order. So I think I'm gonna do the Mission Impossible series next, by which time I should be up for another week off, and I can get two or three of the Hobbit trilogies or the Middle Earth trilogy watched. But that's how I'm thinking on that one at the moment. Um, didn't go with the crap movie I had lined up for Never Seen. This is one you mentioned last week that you got another crap movie that you were going to do this week, but you thought better of it. I can keep that back for a while yet, as I have enough in the can till June. I hope you carry on longer than that, Jay, because I'm loving this. I really am. Just the thought of you watching movies that you would never ever normally entertain watching. Um, I love it, absolutely love it, and I look forward to every Saturday finding out which one you've gone for this week, kind of thing. So thanks for that, Jay, much appreciated. Oh, this throat is doing my head in. Mark, can't remember what the programme mentioned was, but my dad was at a boxing show watching my eldest brother box, and my mum went into labour with me. So the announcement went over the tannoy that my dad had to go home because his wife was in labour. So we rushed home, and when he got home, my mum wouldn't go to the hospital until she finished watching Dallas. What was the show we were talking about last week? Cell Block H, wasn't it? Was it Cell Block H? I think it was, and I think it was Julie Croft commented that her mum said that she wouldn't go into the hospital until the episode that she was watching had finished. I'm sure it was Cell Block H, but if you want to correct me on that, feel free. Guy, you replied, "Never mind my baby, I need to know who shot JR, damn it." That was massive back in the day. Do you remember that? Who shot JR? My God. Do you know what? 40 plus years on, people still remember it, and they still remember who it was. I used to love Dallas, absolutely adored it. That's a series I wouldn't mind watching from the beginning again. And also Dynasty, used to love Dynasty. Falcon Crest, used to enjoy that one. A little bit later on, we had Melrose Place, which I joined probably 2 seasons in. Thoroughly enjoyed that one. There was something about these American glitzy soaps that I really liked, which makes what I said earlier a little strange about the Kardashians and all that lot. I think it's just the fact that they are real, or they purport to be real. These were just nonsense, complete glitzy nonsense, but I loved them. Let's see. So thanks for that, Mark. Guy, great vid as ever, mate. Lovely tribute to Dave. Cheers, Guy. X-Men 97. Definitely watch the original series first. I had a feeling you were going to say that, so I'm going to make a start on that. It's on Disney Plus, isn't it? So Cobra Kai, you need to catch up. It just gets better and better. I'm going to go back to that one as well, and Stranger Things. This is what I meant by tying up loose ends, so I'm going to be doing that. Big Finish Audio. Yeah, I've heard a few of the Doctor Who stories on Spotify. They have a small selection. I didn't realise this. I actually went on to Spotify and I've downloaded 3 or 4 of them, so I'm going to be listening to them. And if I do like them, I probably will be buying some of them. There's one that I'm trying to find, which stars Carol Ann Ford. I think it's after the Dalek invasion of Earth. It's a 60s story, but it's what happened after, and I really, really want that one. It's on Amazon for 12 quid. I just want to find out how long it is. I'm not going to buy it if it's only like 30 minutes, but if it's an hour and hour and a half or whatever, I may just treat myself to that one. Let's see. You put they are a bit pricey though, so I've not engaged with them much. Yeah, they're not cheap. I think they're probably something that you could treat yourself to once a month. But I can see myself getting quite a collection of them, but not buying them at the rate that I do DVDs and Blu-rays, definitely not. So, right, I'm going to take a quick break, folks, and I'll be back in a second. And we're back. Right, Dave Taylor. Hi, Tony. That is one of the reasons I don't watch series. When it comes to the end and you're none the wiser, then it's just time down the drain. This is to do with Lost, and there was another series, wasn't there? Can't remember. We're talking about 2 or 3 of them. Basically, series that you invest many, many hours in, only to come to the end of it and find out that you're none the wiser when you get to the end of it. No explanations whatsoever. So yeah, I quite agree with that, and I try now, if I can, not to watch the ones that are too long-winded, and I will normally go on various forums before I embark on a great big long series to find out whether it's going to be complicated or whether it's going to be just a complete nightmare before I actually watch it, which is why I tend to stick with ones that are just in 6 parts. But as we all know, the Americans, when they do a season, it's like 24 episodes. So you're investing a lot of time in something that you're going to come to the end of and think, well, what the fuck was that? So, yeah, I agree with that completely, Dave. One of the guys said how many movies he watched a year. That would have been Jason, I'll bet you. And you said you would have to go through the IMDb year by year to have any idea. I would have to. I think that's the only way I could actually do it. I would have to do the same with selecting a favourite year. I had 2 books I used to note down the movies I'd watched, and I rated them. I think it got cleared away one Christmas about 4 years ago. Never seen it since. Oh, wounded. I would not have been amused by that at all, especially if I'd taken time to write down hundreds of films in there. Another thing about series, I would say 3 out of 5, the endings are disappointing. You think? Lost is a classic example of that. I can't remember what the other one was we were talking about now, but there was another one that was similar. There's one I'm interested in called Manifest, but I get the feeling it's going to be very, very similar to Lost in its tone and its confusion. If anybody's seen Manifest, just let me know. It's one that I keep looking at and thinking that sounds intriguing, but I don't want it to be intriguing where I just get to the end and I haven't got a clue what I've watched. Also, if it does give a clean-cut ending, there could be a follow-on, or you have to make your own mind up about what happened. They are not for me. I don't want to make my own mind up about what happened. This is my main thing with certain movies, whereas you'll get to the end and you're just completely confused, and you'll read sort of an interview with the director who's talking about the movie, and they'll say, we just want people to put their own interpretation on it, their own spin on it. No, I don't want that. I want you to tell me what fucking happened. Because I'm quite lazy like that nowadays. If I can't understand something, it just does me head in. There are so many movies I've watched, a lot of them horror films as well. Horror films used to be so straightforward back in the 80s and the 70s. You just knew. You get to the end of it and you think that was really good, really enjoyed that. Most of them nowadays, you come to the end and you think, what the fuck? So, yeah, no, I quite agree with that. Let's see, where are we? Oh, Tony, I have tried to pick my favourite year from movies. I've gone for 1971. Right, and you've named some movies here: Clockwork Orange, Dirty Harry, Get Carter, and Straw Dogs. How about 10 Rillington Place, Dave? And Melody. And I've got some more here. Close behind is 1991, Silence of the Lambs and Terminator 2. They are definitely 2 of my top 10 favourite movies. 2 classics, without a doubt, definitely. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to show you my top movies from 1971. There's quite a few of them. I didn't realise, and you don't until you go through them, I didn't realise I've got so many movies from one particular year. But this is quite a list. I think this is about 20, maybe 23, 24 movies that I'll run through quickly, all from 1971. And all that I felt the need to buy because I love that year. First one, The Devils. Now this is Ken Russell's and Oliver Reed's movie. Vanessa Redgrave is in this. I don't even know where to start with this. Again, it's been a long time since I've watched this. I remember this being a really horrible movie experience. Really, really bad. Chris, I think you've seen this one. It is just basically about, in the Middle Ages, in a little town in France called Loudun, I believe it was, a lot of women, including nuns, were basically accused of witchcraft and being possessed. this is a movie you've got to see to believe. It's just absolutely I would imagine this is quite close to the truth, as how it happened. But obviously, Ken Russell, we all know how his movies go, so I'm fairly sure he's bent the truth a little bit. But this is a really vile film. Brilliant, don't get me wrong, absolutely brilliant. And I do want to watch it again, but I'm in no hurry to put myself through that one again. So that's The Devils. Next one, these are in no particular order, by the way. Mr. Forbush and the Penguins. I believe this was remade with Jim Carrey not too many years ago. This is the original version starring John Hurt. Don't know much about it. This is one that I bought having seen it on TV a long time ago. All I know, it's something to do with John Hurt being some kind of a naturalist who goes to the Arctic to preserve penguins, that kind of thing. I haven't seen it, not for many years. That's one I need to catch up on, but I thought I'd treat myself to that. This is another one, Dulcimer. Never seen it. I love John Mills's movies. I've seen quite a few, and I thought this is one that I've not heard of and I've not seen, so I thought I'll grab a copy of that. But again, I've not had a chance to watch it and that, as yet. Bedknobs and Broomsticks. I remember my mum taking me to see this at Burton Odeon. It would have been the early 70s, early to mid 70s. Absolutely loved it. I still love watching it now. The only thing I would say is, anyone from Disney, if you're watching, please release the uncut version. This version here runs for, I believe, 130. It does. If this is what I think it is, I think I might have the uncut version here. I'll have to have a look. There's a version on Disney Plus which I believe runs for about 115 minutes. There's also a version that runs for about 2 hours and 10 minutes. And my glasses are terrible, so I can't see this, but I think this says 130 minutes, in which case I already have the uncut version. What a dickhead. But it still wouldn't hurt to release it on Blu-ray in that version. 1971 would not be 1971 without this one, A Clockwork Orange. This is definitely in my top 5 favourite movies ever. Again, not seen it for a while, but absolutely love this. Malcolm McDowell is just brilliant in this. I still think he should write a book concerning not just his autobiography, but a book concerning his experiences on the making of this movie, because I'd be first in the queue to buy a copy of that. It's just brilliant. This is classic 1971. If you've not seen it, please grab a copy and have a look. It's not for everybody. The first time I bumped into this, I'd heard so much about it. It was not available. It was banned in the UK. And the story goes that it was banned because of the violence. It wasn't banned because of the violence. It was banned because of Stanley Kubrick. Kubrick, who I believe was of quite a nervous disposition anyway, got this rather unfortunate letter stating that violence would happen to his family if he didn't withdraw this movie. And he was so powerful with Warner Brothers at the time that they agreed, but only in England. So it was banned for many years. The only way you could see it was to take a trip across the channel to a cinema in Paris. Can't remember what it was called, but it had screened it every day since it first came out in 1971, and it had been screened for 40, maybe 50 years. Or you could buy pirate copies, which is what I got hold of. I got hold of a bootleg copy of it. The quality was just terrible. It was bloody awful, but it was the only way to see it. And I can't remember. I remember being not overly impressed with it, but wanting to see it again, but in a better quality copy. So when it came out on DVD, I grabbed the first copy I could, watched it, absolutely fell in love with it. I've seen it countless times since. I've not watched it in 4K yet. That's one that I need to get onto. So where are we? Walkabout. This is another Nicholas Roeg film. We're talking about one of his earlier on, Man Who Fell to Earth, David Bowie. This was 1971. Jenny Agutter. basically about a young girl and her little brother who were taken out into the middle of the outback by their dad, supposedly on a picnic. He kills himself, sets fire to the car, and leaves them stranded. Nice. And basically, it details their journey back to civilization with the help of a young Aboriginal lad who's on a coming of age thing called a walkabout, and he helps them. It's a lovely film. The setting of this, the outback, is just gorgeous, and on Blu-ray it looks absolutely stunning. I'm hoping this will get a 4K release. It might have even happened. I know it's slipped under my radar, but I'm guessing it will look absolutely stunning in 4K. Next one, Assault. This is how we used to make British thrillers back in the 70s. They were absolutely brilliant from about I would say about 69 to about 73, and this is one of the best examples. Susie Kendall, Frank Findlay. This is one that will keep you guessing right until the end. Basically, it's about a guy who is attacking schoolgirls in the woods next to the school where they go, and it's basically just an hour and a half of trying to guess who this guy is. And it caught me completely off guard, as these things always do. I didn't get it right, but this is absolutely brilliant. It was actually produced, by Peter Rogers, who made the Carry On movies. And if you listen to the music in this, it's very, very similar in parts to something that you would see on the soundtrack of a Carry On film. So that's recommended if you can get it. Next one, Blood on Satan's Claw. This is part of the unholy trinity of movies, which included The Wicker Man and Witchfinder General. This is basically folk horror at its best. I remember seeing the trailer to this in the days when they could put X-certificate trailers in with kids' films by disguising it as a U-certificate trailer for an X-certificate film. And I remember watching the trailer for this, which basically showed the very first scene where they find the skull with the eyeball, and I was absolutely horrified. And that's what they did back then. X-certificate trailers shown in between. Might even been with Bedknobs and Broomsticks for all I know. But this is a classic movie. Really, really enjoyed this. Not seen it for a while, but I'm definitely going to be watching that again. Next one. Two Lane Blacktop. This is still in the cellophane. I bought this ages ago. I went through a bit of a phase of wanting to watch road movies. I love a good road movie, and there's a couple more in here as well. And I bought this one completely blind, never seen it, not watched it. Yeah, Jace, that's coming up later. You know what I'm on about. THX 1138. This is an early George Lucas film, before Star Wars, way before Star Wars. I've not seen it. I've heard a lot about it. I've heard it's one of the slowest, most boring movies ever. But if George Lucas is at the helm of it, it's got to be worth a look. So I will be taking a look at that. Classic, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original and the best. I'm sure the Johnny Depp version is good, and I'm fairly sure that Timothée Chalamet does a decent job in the new Wonka. But this, to me, will always be the original and the best. Even the songs in this are just superb. There are a couple of what you would class as disturbing scenes in here, which you probably wouldn't be able to do. It'd be wise not to try putting them in a kids' film nowadays. But back in 1971, things were different. It was a totally different world. But this is brilliant. Gene Wilder will always be Willy Wonka to me, always. Another one, it wouldn't be 1971 without Straw Dogs. Dustin Hoffman and Susan George at the height of their powers. Sam Peckinpah's movie, violent as hell. It's a nasty film. I remember this film really upset people back in the day. It pushed major buttons back then. I really enjoyed this. It's one of those movies though that does leave a bit of a sour taste in your mouth when it's all finished. But it's just mad. Apparently, the story goes that even the author of the original book upon which this was based disassociated himself from it because there was too much mayhem going on. So that goes to say something. But this is a 1971 classic, and as we all know, 1971 was a classic year for scandal movies, problem movies. You got this, you got Clockwork Orange. I think Last Tango in Paris came out that year or the year after. You'd also got Soldier Blue, which came out the year before. Cinema was changing, and this was one of the major examples of that. What have we got? Vanishing Point, another road movie. This is one that I really want to see. I bought it again when I was going through that road movie phase. I've not seen it, but I'd seen the trailer to it and thought that looks brilliant. So that's one I need to get onto. Le Mans, Steve McQueen. This was the first movie I ever saw on the big screen. My dad took me to see it. I think I've told this story before, but he said to my mum one afternoon that he was going to the pictures to watch this motor racing movie. He was mad on motorsport. Mum basically insisted that, take Anthony with you, you'll enjoy it. No, he won't like it. He will, he'll love it. And this started my love affair with the cinema. Starring the King of Cool, Steve McQueen. I don't remember thinking too much of the movie at the time. I think my dad enjoyed it a lot more than I did. But big screen, dark room, perfect. Duel, Steven Spielberg's directorial debut. Actually, it wasn't. I believe he directed a couple of episodes of Columbo before he fell into this one. This is just brilliant. I never ever get bored of this. Dennis Weaver plays a salesman on his way to a conference, and he has to travel across country and is menaced by this 18-wheel truck belching out black smoke. They were going to remake this, and I don't really see the point because it doesn't get much better than this. This is another example of like the Christine syndrome. Don't touch it. There's nothing wrong with this. It is absolutely superb. I might bang this on in a bit, actually. I wouldn't mind watching that. We'll separate that from the rest of them. Play Misty for Me, Clint Eastwood. Now then, this is the one I think that inspired Fatal Attraction. The story is very, very similar. A woman becomes obsessed with a DJ working at a local radio station. Sorry. And basically begins to stalk him, threatens to commit suicide because he won't see her anymore, that kind of thing. If you think of Fatal Attraction, if you watch this, Fatal Attraction is the first movie you'll think of as, it's similar to that. Actually, I think you'll find Fatal Attraction is similar to this one. I think this is better, much better than Fatal Attraction. Nothing wrong with Fatal Attraction, classic movie, but this was better, I thought. The French Connection. It's also got the French Connection 2 in this set. I've seen the French Connection, loved it. I snapped up this copy of the Blu-ray the instant I found out that Fox had decided to cut a line of dialogue from the movie, and apparently the line of dialogue that they've cut, it's a vital line of dialogue that you need to hear, otherwise the rest of the movie doesn't make any sense. So yeah, it's one that I need to watch again, and I do need to watch the sequel because I haven't actually seen that. Shaft. This is one of the movies that started the blaxploitation movement, which I do love. I absolutely love them. I remember the theme from Shaft being number one when I was at junior school. I went mad for it. Absolutely loved it. And I wanted to see the film, but obviously it was an X certificate and I'd have been about 9 years old at the time, so I had no chance. I did watch it eventually, loved it. Haven't seen the sequels, which are included on this box set. You've got Shaft's Big Score and Shaft in Africa. I can't imagine how that one's going to work. But I do need to watch all three of those again. Harold and Maude, one of the most delightful black comedies I think I've ever seen. If you've not seen Harold and Maude, absolutely, completely and utterly recommend it. Stars Ruth Gordon, who played the nosy neighbour in Rosemary's Baby, and Bud Cort as a suicidal teenager who meets an octogenarian at a funeral. They both are obsessed with other people's funerals. They strike up a friendship and eventually a romance. It sounds weird, that's because it is, but it has got the most amazing Cat Stevens soundtrack also with this. I want to introduce Rob to this one, but it's got to be the right time because this is such a strange movie. But this is one of my favourites of the year. See No Evil, starring Mia Farrow. This wasn't too long after Rosemary's Baby. It would have been about 3 years after that. Plays a blind girl who doesn't realise that all of her family have been killed. She lives out in the country in a sort of a large farmhouse with stables attached. There are just bodies everywhere and she doesn't realise it, obviously with being blind. One of the best early 70s thrillers you will ever see. Get Carter. One of the best British gangster films you will ever watch. Michael Caine. The only thing that gets even close to this is The Long Good Friday, and even that pales into insignificance compared to this one. I can't recommend it enough. I've seen it many times. It was always on late in the 70s on ITV. Used to screen it. It was always on after 10:30 because of the nudity and the violence. And watching it now, this is one I need to grab on 4K. This is actually the Blu-ray copy of it, but I'm going to go on the forums and find out what the 4K version of this is like, and if it comes out on top, I may treat myself to the 4K of that one. Fright, starring Susan George and Dennis Waterman, also George Cole and Honor Blackman. This is the original Babysitter in Peril movie. Before we had When a Stranger Calls, Have You Checked the Children? That one. There was this one from 1971, which is a very similar thing. Again, this is how we did thrillers and horror movies back in the early 70s. They were just faultless. They were brilliant. Infinitely watchable. Rewatchability. I've seen this one, oh God, must be a dozen times or more. Never get bored of it. Dr. Phibes. The Abominable Dr. Phibes. Vincent Price, his wife, is accidentally killed. Accidentally killed during an operation. He decides to get revenge on the surgeons that operated on her by killing them in ever inventive ways. Really good. I used to enjoy watching this one years ago. There's a sequel to it. What's it called? Dr. Phibes Rises Again. Equally as good. That was 1972 though. And finally, On the Buses. Oh God, we forget sometimes that we had quite a legacy of sitcoms being turned into movies. The original On the Buses was made in 1971, and it outstripped a lot of the Hollywood big titles that were in the cinemas that year. This did really well, and I can see why. Again, seen this and the two sequels loads of times. They're a bit of a staple on sort of ITV3 and ITV4 at bank holidays, where they are cut, which is why I'm glad that I've got that version, because that's a few years old, so that won't be cut. So that's all my favourite movies from 1971. Let's see, what time have we got left? Not much. So I will do a couple of quick reviews. I bought a load of stuff, but I'm going to save that until next week. Bin it or keep it for this week. Oppenheimer. Right, okay, what have I got here? Just bear with it. Oh, thanks for all that, by the way, Dave, for the 1971 stuff. Appreciate that. Let's see. Bin it or keep it, Oppenheimer. Shell, my team leader. Hey up, Shell. Bin. Stu was so looking forward to watching it, but shite when we did. Don't hold back, love. Guy, I've not seen it yet, but I think Tony will bin it. Do you now? Mark just put a picture of a great big steaming turd with eyes. That pretty much sums that one up. Oppenheimer, what did I think of it? I've heard this reviewed many times, and a lot of people do agree that it is basically 3 hours of people talking in rooms, and that is what it is. It's brilliantly done, don't get me wrong. It's superbly acted. Standout performance for me wasn't Cillian Murphy, it was Matt Damon as the grizzled old general. My God, what an obnoxious son of a bitch he was. Christ. But he stood out for me as the pretty much the best performance in it. I did enjoy it, but I've got to admit it was a slog. I get the feeling that this is the movie that I could watch again, not yet, but I could watch it again and probably get more out of it the second time around. And I don't know what makes me think that, but it's just the impression that I get. So I will be taking another look at Oppenheimer, but not yet. Probably give it 6 months or a year and then put it back on again, which means obviously this is a keeper. But as I say, it's brilliantly done, but it is literally 3 hours of people talking in rooms. So nothing more to say about that. And another new thread that I'm going to start very quickly. Jason, you put me onto this one with a comment you put, which I've not actually found. It's on there somewhere, but basically what you were saying was, I think we were talking about a Jason Statham film, and I said that I got it but I'd not watched it, which is one of my favourite lines. Got it but I haven't watched it yet. And you said something along the lines of you should start own it but never seen it thread. So the first one, surprise surprise, Blitz. I own it but I've never seen it. The reason I bought this was it was recommended to me. I found it on Amazon for about £2 something on Blu-ray, so I thought, yeah, we'll have that. And I've also heard it is very reminiscent of the Sweeney, as it's set in the 70s, which instantly turned me onto it. I just hope they do a better job of it than the actual Sweeney film did. But that is this week's Own It But Never Seen It, and I'll be doing that every week now, so thanks for that one, Jace. You're quite right. I have got so many movies upstairs that I own but never seen. Yeah, so right, I'm going to leave it at that for this week, folks. I've got loads to get through, but I'm saving some for next week. I've been off this week, and I've been exceedingly lazy. I've made no notes at all for Sunday, so the fact that I've held off and I've got loads of stuff that I need to talk about, including let's see, Bambi the Reckoning. Jason K, our Ginger Ninja, you were talking about this, and I've got loads of notes on what I want to say about that one, so that's coming up next week. Also the release of Caligula the Ultimate Cut on Blu-ray. There's all sorts of bits that I've not done this week, but I will save it for next week. So thanks ever so much for joining me, folks. Have a brilliant week, and I will talk to you all again next week. Take care. Ta-da.